Attorney Thomas J. Henry is recognized across the nation for taking on the tough cases and obtaining results that speak for themselves. From the time he was a young man, he's had a passion for helping others. And after 35 years of being an attorney, he still wakes up each day with that same burning desire. Thomas J. Henry, the name you know, the firm you trust.
On to 3A Division I now. And 3A Division I,
Yeah.
we've got some things to talk about here. A few different things.
A lot of things to talk
First
about.
and foremost, we're all split on titles.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
And so three of us, Mallory Hartley, Ashley Pickle, and myself, are rolling with Franklin, the defending 3A Division II state champs, making the move up to 3A Division I, the number one team in the state.
Yeah, and the other two are wrong.
I just think that Bryson Washington and Jaden Jackson, and that rushing attack is so hard to defend for 4 quarters, and I think that that's gonna give them an edge in pretty much every game. Now, the interesting thing is they've got to go through, because you guys, both Step and Ish, if you're listening on the podcast, you guys are going with Malakoff.
Yes. I think this is Malakoff's best shot,
Mm-hmm.
mainly because the big bad wolf for Malakoff has always been Grandview. They get the right side of the bracket to where they wouldn't see Grandview until the regional final, and I don't think Grandview is going to make the regional final this year. This isn't the Grandview team that we're used to seeing. They got the better of Malakoff earlier in the regular season, so again, that would be a favorable matchup for Grandview. I don't think they make it that far, so I think this is Malakoff's shot, which is why I'm going with them. Not only coming out of that region, but I think in a one-off, I like them. I like them in their quarterback. I like the way that they're playing right now. I mean, I believe Mike Jones is a sophomore quarterback, so like he's a very talented, underrated player.
Mike Jones?
I wasn't gonna do it because like that'd be like.
I mean,
It was doing a thing
It would
where
really,
it'd
yeah.
be like
No, it was there was a silent acknowledgement
Right,
between you and
exactly,
I, and I
exactly.
appreciate you
But-
understanding the
Yeah.
score here. Okay, let's bounce up to Region 1. Let's bounce up to Region 1, where we've got we've got more things to talk about here. Region 1, Ish and Pickle taking Brock. You guys just gonna ride or die? Like,
I was just going to say, look,
We've been waiting for this team to look
Yeah.
like Brock all year, and sure, 0-4 to start, whatever. The schedule was weird and hard, and they looked good. They haven't looked as great in district as maybe we thought. I still think they're going to turn it on.
we saw them play. I mean, we did. We saw their
Yeah,
game
that's
against
true.
Wichita Falls Hershey, which they were punching up a classification, and they took a Wichita Falls Hershey team that has 2 Division I FBS prospects and took them into overtime. I think this team can figure it out. Also, I have died on this Brock Hill all year long. I'm not going back now. I'm either going to look like an idiot for the entire year, or I'm going to look like the smartest person, and I'm not willing to waver on that.
Mallory and Step, you guys are going with Whitesboro in Region 1.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
this
well, hey,
one,
listen, they arguably there's many people who think that Whitesboro did beat Brock.
Yeah.
'Cause that came down to a very controversial call at the end.
It did, and I think I'm going to take the Shiner Refugio ideology on this a little bit too. It's really, really hard to beat a good team twice, especially because of how close this game was. And so they wouldn't meet up until, looks like, the regional finals. I think that Whitesboro might have the easier path when it comes to the regional finals than Brock, so I'm going to also take that kind of ideology that they have an easier path to get to, and maybe they can pull it out this time. against
I'm
Brock.
going to go, and I'm going off the board, and I'm going with Bushland.
I
Now,
love this pick.
now-
I hate that you took it.
Now,
but I love
Bushland
it.
Bushland does have the loss on the year where a couple weeks ago where they lost to Shallow Water. And there's ample reason to be spooked off of Bushland from there. But I think that was a blip. I think that was a wake-up call for them. I think that they're gonna get back and rolling again.
That
Remember,
offense is so fun.
their offense can hum. Josh Reynolds' offense is humming right now, and they've got a really impressive resume. Like they've got wins over Canadian, over Childress, over Dumas, over El Paso Riverside. That one loss on the year is to Shallow Water, and I think it's hard to beat a good team twice. Now Shallow Water could make us all look dumb and win the region.
Sure.
But in Region 1, I think it's pretty tough. But I think that I'm glad that we're kind of I hate to say I'm glad we're in disagreement, but I think that speaks to the depth of Region 1 and how it really could go any which way.
Anyway, yeah.
Region 2, 4 of us like Malakoff here. 4 of us like Malakoff for the reasons that you laid out, and I agree with you. I think that this team is ready for prime time. We go over to the to Pickle Island over here.
I just
to talk a little Pottsboro.
Yeah, I can't buy in on Malakoff. I really can't, because I genuinely thought that this was going to be the year in the regular season that they took down Grandview, and they cannot get over that hump. I agree with Ish when he says I don't think Grandview is going to make it that far, but I think that Pottsboro is a better team than Grandview, and if they can't beat Grandview, then I think that I don't know. I like this Pottsboro team. I think that the depth is there. I also think that their size advantage plays a lot into it that Malakoff just might not have. I get burned by Malakoff every year. I couldn't do it.
Mine is Atlanta.
Atlanta, yeah.
get
I always want to say, this is the year, this is the year, this is the year. This is not I don't think it's the year.
Okay.
I know we picked pretty much all the same team besides Pickle, but I think still this region was really
Oh,
tough. I even
no.
texted Pickle last
Yeah.
night and was like,
Oh, no.
who in the heck am I supposed to pick out of this region? Because
No.
it's a coin flip.
You're spot on. Region 2 rather.
I had to go back to this one.
So here's
Me too.
so
Yeah,
like
had to skip
teams
it.
like here's who I think, and this is me talking here, but here's who I think it would be reasonable to pick out of Region 2 rather. I think it would be reasonable to pick Malakoff, West,
Yep.
Grandview, Pottsboro, Tatum, right?
Winsboro. I almost went
9-1.
I almost went with
Jefferson
Winsboro.
won their district championship,
I mean,
right?
it's just a coin
It is a real Mount Vernon. Like Mount Vernon is the team that won the region the last 2 years, right? So this is where the most depth is, I think. Maybe,
Yes, for sure.
The second most depth is probably in Region 3, which is probably where we're going next, and this is where we have the most disagreements. I think it's fascinating that the people who picked Franklin, myself, Pickle, and Mallory, we basically think if they get out of Region 3, then they'll win the title.
They're the champions, yeah.
Right? You guys obviously don't think you're taking Hitchcock. This has been your darling ever since 7-on-7.
Very much so. Now the difference is, of course, you can't really tell the trenches from 7-on-7, so that's where I think the weakness is comparatively to the rest of the region. But you look at guys like their quarterback Lloyd Jones. They have a stellar junior class. Damian McDaniel's one of the most underrated receivers. I think he recently got an Oregon offer, so he's really bursting through the mainstream. I believe Bryce Dorsey's another one of their playmakers. I just think these guys have playmakers all over the field, and I don't know if they're going to be able to match 60 minutes with another team like a Franklin up in the trenches, but I think they're a team that can maybe hit a home run or two, catch a couple teams off guard, and all of a sudden put teams like Franklin in a bit of a hole where they haven't been before, 14-0, 21-7, those kind of things, and jump out on them. Again, the difference will be if they can block for that long to be able to set up these long plays, because, again, the athleticism is there. They made that run in 7-on-7, and I'm glad that they're kind of justifying that run in the fall with actual, 11-on-11 football being pretty successful.
They're a home run hitting team.
Yeah.
And that is the thing that I think you can say about Franklin and Hitchcock is they hit home runs.
Yeah.
And you've got to contain them for 48 minutes.
I will say one of their biggest wins of the year over Furia in a team. I know they're 2A. I know they're a classification below, but talk about a team that beats
In
you
trenches,
up in the trenches.
Yeah.
That is a good resume and a
Absolutely.
good hint towards maybe they can actually match up in the trenches.
Step one with Columbus. A lot of Columbus, in my opinion, is about whether or not you think that loss to Hitchcock was a blip or like a canary in the coal mine. And Columbus looks the part. They got a showable quarterback, so that's usually good news. Their defense has been pretty strong. The question is, do you think that they would win a rematch? How do you think they'd match up with Franklin? I mean, this is another really deep region where you've got a number of different teams that you could certainly dream on. Columbus, obviously in that mix. Franklin, the three of us are going with them. We haven't even mentioned Lorena, who plays Columbus in the first round, by the way.
Yeah.
Hitchcock, Cameron Yo, that District 11 versus District 12 is going to be the real power nexus.
Well, I think, too, since we haven't talked much about Franklin, and obviously we all like them, I think that we'll get a really good answer as to just how deep this Franklin team is, because their first-round matchup is against Hallettsville. And say what you will, we haven't mentioned them at all about this region, and they're a very, very good team. So, that to me will be the
Hallettsville beat
measuring...
Shiner.
Yeah, that's the measuring stick that I need is this by-district round for Franklin to see, because I think they're a murder
learn a lot.
machine.
Yeah.
I just don't think there's a single team in this entire bracket that can stop them right now.
So that's 3A Division 1. We can move on to 4A.
Hey, go back. Region 4, my friends. Allow me to introduce
Oh!
you to 3 very smart people and 2 not so smart people. Mallory, Ish, and I all taking the Llano Yellow Jackets, and then the other 2 dummies taking Edna. All due respect to Edna.
Yeah, here's Here's
a lot of Edna hate on this show.
yeah, a lot of Edna.
All due respect to Edna.
So Edna
No.
does have the one loss in the year, but it was to Refuria, which is a
Yeah.
team that we think pretty highly of, although it is a 2A team, so again, grain of salt. But since then, they've got a great win over Sinton. Like, I think, to me, if you take that Refurio loss and the Sinton win, they basically cancel each other out because it's like that's a really good win over a good Sinton team that's a 4A team. Their defense gave up 18 points in district play. Their defense has hit another level, has Edna. And here's the other thing about it. I like Lano. Okay? I like Lano.
Someone cut that.
Can you give me the single? Mm-hmm. I like Lano.
Done. Show's over. Thank y'all for joining us for our playoff prediction show.
They are reliant on bullying people in the trenches, and I'm not sure they can do that to Edna. I think Edna up front is very physical, and they're going to be able to match Lano up front. And that is, to me, why I give the edge to the Cowboys. So there you have it. You can all throw tomatoes at me from Llano County.
Oh, don't worry. We've been doing that for a while now.
I'm aware. That's fine. So there you have it. And then obviously we all kind of split on the titles, which I think is great. And I think it tells you kind of how fun 3A Division
How
1 has a chance
crazy
to be.
this division is, yeah.
And like there could be one or two upsets that we don't see coming that just like blows everything out of the water. Because this has also been the district, or rather the classification that's given us surprises. Lorena last year was a surprise.
Oh my gosh, that one weekend over like Thanksgiving, like
Yeah.
last year or whatever. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Grandview ended up losing, like just chaos every
Jim
year.
Ned, a couple of years, 2020,
Yes,
they were a
yeah.
big surprise. So this has been the classification that historically in recent years has given us the big surprises. Do they have another one in store? Find out together. You can find all the brackets, everything you need for the Texas High School Football Playoffs at texasfootball.com/playoffs.